guys, good morning. Laura with Garden Answer. Today's project's going to be really fun. I'm planting up a vertical edible garden. So we're on the back side of our tool shed and I've got some wall pockets right here. These are Corton Still planters from Pot Incorporated. We'll link them down below, but you can really use your imagination. I've seen so many different versions of vertical gardens. We've done a video in the past where I planted up a pallet. I've seen people use those shoe organizers that you hang off the back of a closet door. I mean, people can get really creative with the way that they garden, especially when you have a little bit limited space. It's such a great way to garden. So the reason why I want to plant in these is because I've recently seen them featured in magazines and at different trade shows, and I just thought it would be fun to try them out. I like the fact that they're specifically suited for planting. They have pre-drilled drainage holes in the bottom, so I won't have to worry about that. So the first thing I'm going to do is fill them up with potting soil, and then I just want to talk to you through some of the varieties that are really well suited for vertical gardening. Before I forget, I wanted to show you guys how we installed these. So there are 2 holes at the top of this planter that are pre-made. There are actually 4 holes, but we used the 2 on the top and just put some screws in the back of the tool shed, and it was easy to slide them on and off. I suppose if you wanted to make it extra sturdy, you could use all 4 holes, but we just found that the 2 works really nicely. So I've got a whole bunch of different herbs next to me here on a table, and I'm gonna go ahead and lay them all out first before planting them, just to make sure I like the way they look, and then I'll go over all the varieties I chose. So almost all the plants are placed. I started with kind of the anchor plants first, and then I've got some really pretty 4-pack lettuce sitting next to me that I'm going to tuck in after I'm done planting these. The reason why I didn't want to pack them completely full of herbs is because herb plants usually grow quite a bit in a growing season. So the thought is I'll tuck the lettuce in today, and then I'll harvest that out and let the herbs fill in the rest of the way. So the top level here, I've got some Bressingham creeping thyme. I thought that that was such a sweet plant to put in here because it's low growing. It'll kind of drape over the edges, which is perfect for this type of container. In fact, all of these plants stay on the small-ish side, and I think that's really important when you're planting something like this. You don't want to plant something that gets enormous. So there's dill. This is fernleaf dill. Now this is probably the biggest growing plant of all 9 of these plants that I have here, but I'm going to be harvesting off of this so much that I'm going to be able to keep it quite a bit smaller than the tag says. Plus, I did decide to put it on the top level so that if it does decide to get taller, it has room to grow. On this end, I have Roman chamomile, and I chose to put it on this far end because this is actually the end that'll receive a little bit more shade. Plus, it'll be shaded a little bit by the dill, so this plant can take more shade than some of the rest. On the second level here, I have a Quinault Everbearing strawberry. I thought it would be fun to have at least 1 strawberry plant kind of hanging over the edge. There's already a strawberry started on this one. Right here in the middle, I have a sage plant. The tag says Bergarten. That is not Bergarten sage. This is a variegated sage. Must have got mislabeled at some point, but it's a very pretty color, and I chose it specifically for that. I actually am not a huge fan of sage, but I still grow it because I like the way it looks. And I think that this yellowish in the center really kind of pops. And then here I have another thyme plant. This is a woolly thyme. Again, I thought that this would be very pretty, kind of, you know, gracing the edges of this planter. And then the third level here, I have Italian parsley, which only grows about 10 to 12 inches tall, but I will be cutting on it quite a bit. So I wanted to plant it on the side so it could kind of puff out there if it needed to have extra room to grow. In the middle, I have a dwarf curry plant, which honestly, I don't know how to use this plant. If you know how to use this plant, let me know. I love the color of it. I love the smell of it, so I wanted to put that in there. And then there is a dwarf marjoram right here, which I think is a nice compact look. So I'm going to go ahead and get these planted in here, and then we'll work on getting some of the lettuce in. So all of the herbs and the strawberry are planted, so now I'm going to tuck in a few lettuce plants. So I've got a really pretty, narrow, kind of taller leaved red lettuce, and then a frilly red leaved lettuce. I thought it would be really pretty to kind of tuck in some color. I think it looks really great planted up. I think the lettuce adds a ton in terms of color and textural contrast. This spot gets sun in the afternoon and evening, and I think that's very important when you're planting herbs and vegetables most of the time. Most of those plants need a lot of sun in order to produce and do really well. There are some things though, if you don't have a sunny spot, that will do okay, like lettuce, spinach, greens, those types of things, as do some herbs. So just check your tags when you're picking out your plants at the garden center, so that you make sure that you have the right things for the spot that you have at your home. You also want to check the size of things. So like I showed you today, I chose a lot of things that had the word dwarf in the name. That's really important. You want to pick things that stay smaller, not anything that's going to get super massive. Also like mints grow super tall. They also take over containers, so you want to keep growth habits in mind. If I was to plant just mint in one of these containers, that would be great, but it doesn't get along really well with a whole bunch of other things. You wouldn't want to plant things like pumpkins or large tomatoes or watermelons. You know, definitely not suited for something like this. There are alternative vertical methods for something like that though. You can plant those type of things in the ground and grow them up trellises against a wall somewhere, or on bamboo teepee trellises. I've done that before in the past. So those are just a couple things to keep in mind. Now, as far as care goes, you just want to make sure this is a container, so it's going to need consistent water. We will have this set up on a drip system. We've been working really hard this year at getting everything set up. So what I'm going to be doing is tapping into our current drip system, which is right below me, and we'll run a tube up the tool shed and over, and then drop it down into this container, and then I'll run a little 1/4-inch soaker hose along the top of the container, and then we'll drop down and do the rest of them. And they'll probably in the hot part of the summer get water almost every day. When they're being watered that much, you do have to be mindful of fertilizer as well, because when you're watering that much, it will leach out nutrients out of the soil quicker. So you want to make sure to keep them on a consistent amount of fertilizer. So I'm going to actually fertilize them today. I'm using Espoma Grow liquid food, and you just mix it in with your water. It's really easy. I've got a 1.5 gallon watering can, so you do 5 doses. You just tip the bottle 5 different times into the can, stir it up, and then water it in. And I'm going to do that about once a week through the whole growing season. So that's pretty much it for this project. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing it come together. I really like the way this looks. I like the fact that these planters are actually suited to be vertical planters. I love the fact that I didn't have to drill drainage holes in the bottom, because that's something I'm always finding myself needing to do with the DIY vertical planters that I'm working on. So it's nice to get something that's actually suited for it. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching today, and we will see you in the next video. Bye.